What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. We've got a fantastic race lining up today. Ryan, how are we doing today?
Good morning. We're doing well. It's a great day to race around a mountain, that's for sure.
Absolutely. This is we're at one of my favorite tracks, Mount Panorama in Australia. If you've never seen this track, it's site to number one race at least virtually. I can't imagine racing there in real life. But number one, a spectacle to see actually as well. We have, it's not an actual racetrack. It's technically, I guess you can consider it a street track, because it's not a dedicated racetrack. It's actually like public roads that like out in farmland and stuff like that. Really, really cool to see. Really difficult uphill section and downhill section. So hopefully we have some good stuff to look forward to.
Technically demanding to drive quickly around. I imagine those speed limits quite low going around there. But then again, in Australia, maybe they like to live dangerously with every creature down there, so maybe there's speed limits too.
Yeah, maybe they maybe they just go really, really fast all the time.
Exactly.
How fast can a kangaroo go, I wonder?
Well, according to Wikipedia, the top speed is 300 plus kilometers per hour around the track, so maybe a kangaroo can manage that as well. I don't know.
We'll find out. But this is quite a special track, and so to kind of show off a little bit of a hype video, I guess we have for what we found. We're gonna go ahead and cut to that. You get some background knowledge on the track. Probably, hopefully, get hyped as heck for a hell of a race, and maybe you'll learn a thing or two as I did while watching it early this morning. So we're gonna cut to that, and we will see you in a few minutes.
You know what? You never forget it. You never forget it because there's nothing like it. This is Mount Panorama. This is Bathurst.
As soon as you head out on this mountain, it is total commitment for every single millimetre.
Looks like last cars are gridded up now.
If you can't make the judgment call 120 metres into 1,000 kilometres to just be a little bit sensible, don't start the race.
The Super Cheap Auto Bathurst 1000 erupts.
And the charge to turn one.
Okay, it's a great corner, second gear. The engine's right in its sweet spot. But remember, whilst you've got to carry mid-corner speed and use that exit curb, you want to get to 100% throttle early, so don't get too greedy. Don't get caught up in the moment. The moment is 6 hours later.
Side by side up Mountain Straight.
If I can offer you one free bit of advice, every single time you exit the pit lane, you grab your belts and you tighten them. And every other lap you think of it, you tighten them again. And after a pit stop, whether they've changed the brake pads or not, tattoo it under your eyelids. Pump the brake pedal, because if they put the pads in and you forget,
Fuel on the road.
you're a goner. Yeah, Griffin's Bend, right? It's one of the toughest on the circuit. If you don't get this one right, psychologically, you're gone for the rest of the lap.
Take the big hurry up.
It's about 260 on the way in, remember? And you've got to knock off 130 k's an hour. But you've got to do that on the bumps on the way in. But let me give you a tip. When you're challenging for Griffin's Bend, either make the commitment or get the hell out of it. We're approaching the cutting. If I can't tell you anything simpler than this, there is one racing line up there. Make sure you're on the tram tracks. There is no room to put your front right tyre even a foot outside of where it needs to be.
Someone's gone!
The track is jammed.
Idiot, I'm sorry.
When we come up to Reed Park, you need to hug the wall. Put the car right over there, hard on the wall, but be careful. Don't overuse the curb on the inside. It'll feed you into the wall.
Drama here.
This is a great part of the circuit where we go from going up the hill and we transform to going down the hills. And no more beautiful sight than your revs in front of you. Bang, 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 bang. So we're out of Reed Park and now we're going to head down to that damn grate, right? It's a horrible, dirty drain up against the wall on the right-hand side of the circuit. Now, the problem here is you've got to commit really, really early. And you don't know, because nowhere in Australia does your front tyre and your car get more downward load than at the grate. You don't know way back then if your power steering is going to suffer it or it's going to give up and feed you into the fence. So we've got through the grate. We're now heading through Sulman to McPhillamy Park. This is Mount Panorama. This is where you need to be thinking corners ahead of where you are. You can't see the roadway up ahead, but you're going to average from the cutting all the way to Skyline around 200 kilometres an hour. This ain't kids' play.
Big moment.
So you've got through the top of the mountain, you've done the tough driver stuff. Now, throw that bit away, you've got to be a ballerina.
That's the view from Skyline. Go for broke time.
You're going to need to dance all the way down through the S's
The descent starts.
until you arrive at the dipper. And when you get to the dipper, yeah, sure, it looks really cool with two wheels hanging up in the air. You can't get the throttle on, can you, with two wheels in the air? Get the thing back on the deck. And the moment your rear tyre hits the ground is the same moment your right foot hits the firewall. Now weave through the concrete walls, but don't get too clever and trying to get an inch away from them. There's nothing to be gained by doing that. Forest elbow. This is the second time and the only other time in the lap that you're not going to feel your front tyres. You're going to come over the little crest there, downhill, and 1.5 tons she won't want to pull up.
Oh, look at this!
So this is where you need to be really measured, slow it up, because your big drama here is going to be understeer. The car does not want to turn there.
They're tagging, they're tagging!
For goodness sake, be aware of what's going on around you. If there's one gap you can leave open for your competitors, it's right there. Think about this. You need to either position yourself out right, commit yourself to Conrod Straight and your top speed, or you're going to need to defend, because that is one of the great spots for attack. And if you're going to defend, there is nothing surer you are going to compromise your straight line speed. So if you're going to defend, you defend. You block him, you pull him up, so you get your foot to the gas first.
This is wild. This is as fast as it gets.
300 kilometres an hour.
Now, I don't care what cars you've driven in your career or where you've driven them. There is nowhere else that you're going to go where 1.5 tons of race car at 300 kilometres an hour actually feels like 1.5 tons of race car at 300 kilometres an hour. And you're approaching what is the fastest corner in Australian motorsport, the Chase. You want a tough bit of roadway? That's it. You want to talk about commitment? This is it. You come down here and you'll see there's 1 metre of tarmac that's been laid down on the left-hand side of that for you to use every single millimetre of it. If for one lap you do not go out there and use that,
That is an almighty crash.
you're going to compromise your lap time and compromise your result. So you need to use that every lap. And why do you need to do that? You need to get the car around there at 300 kilometres an hour, do not lift your right foot off the throttle until the car is squared up, and when it is, and only then, you put your foot on the brake and you push it so damn hard that you want to bend the brake pedal.
He goes, he's into the side of him. They run into each other. He's blocked out, Blake. He's going to redress. He's going to redress. Oh, no, they're all gone. This is huge in Australian motorsport.
Last corner. So you've got 6 kilometres of the 6.213 kilometre circuit done. Do not get it wrong here.
This kid is going to win this thing today.
Finish the job right now.
Will Davison might get this done. Nothing in it. He wins it by a car length.
So that defines this mountain. That defines this race. Do you want to win it? Everyone wants to win it. If you can't first beat the mountain, you will never win this race.
Well. That was something.
If that doesn't get you hype, I don't know what will, because that just like gives me goosebumps. I mean, talk about, that's just a track walkthrough from one of Australia's racing legends, and like, I know we won't have that sort of excitement here, but I'm hoping we get maybe a smidge close to it.
Yeah, I sure hope so. Really, Mark Larkham, who's a retired Australian racing driver there, was giving us a bit of that motivational speech, then coaching through the track. I really hope we get to see some of our drivers stick to that and not the walls.
Yeah, I hope so. It's obviously, we're sim race as Tony spun. Yeah, exactly. That was a great way to come back to the track, right? It's sim racing compared to real life, but it just goes to show how dangerous some of these tracks can be. And while we're not able to actually get into an accident in GT7, I mean, it could still be extremely detrimental for your race and other people's races at the very least. We had to kind of we had a drivers meeting before we started stream today, just kind of talking about, hey, we've all been putting work in and practice over the past week or so for this race, 2 weeks, and let's not ruin anybody's race trying to do stupid things. It's really easy to kind of forget that. I mean, it's really easy to just try to send it maybe up this mountain, try to go side by side, when the only repercussion is your race, right? Compared to
that's exactly right.
Compared to racing in real life, where the repercussion could be, I don't know, you get hurt or worse. But that's the last thing we want to see here, and I do think that a lot of these drivers, you want to have a competitive race that you can finish, and where if you end up in a wall, make it be your own fault, and hopefully not with not hurting anybody else's race.
Yeah, we were talking about even just going through the mountain, and just if you're getting waved blue flags, just wait till the end of it. Just take your normal racing line through there, because it's just not worth it. Especially all of us practicing and driving hard through there. You just get your lines right and just try to go as quickly as you can. Unfortunately, blue flags, you have a lot of other good places to let people by, and hopefully we don't see any impingements there. But just what a legendary track. I feel like, it really just, it feels like, you're literally in the middle of a field, and then there's just this epic track to have a lot of fun on. Did you get to do any practice around here this week, Wally?
I did a few practice runs myself, and this is a track where I feel like I'm somewhat, I could be halfway decent at, but then I see the times that these guys put in, and I'm like, okay, wow, never mind, I take back what I thought. It's difficult for sure. If you put a toe out of line in the S's and a twisty bit at the top of the mountain, you just lose so much time, let alone just the amount of time you can lose by running into a wall or something like that.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And it's funny, you think, oh well, I have 2/3 of the track to take it easy between the Conrad Straight, the main straight, and the mountain straight right after turn 1, but you don't, because those are gone in a flash. It's just there's almost no downtime around here. Dare I say, I think turn 23 down the main street into turn 1 is the easiest time you'll have. Passing the pits, you can take a breather and collect yourself for the next go.
That's it. Because even the final corner of the track is not. I wouldn't say it's easy. It's probably one of the easier ones on this track, but it's something where you can definitely lose a lot of speed if you overcook it and maybe end up running wide right onto the grass. There's no room for error in a lot of the track, and even turn 1 going onto Hell's Corner, you can carry a ton of speed, and like we saw in the video, you want to use that runoff and you want to use as much of the track as possible, but and if you don't, you're just losing time. So really, to make the most out of this track, you have to be committed. So yeah, in my practice, I wasn't. I can't believe that we're seeing a 159 out of
Philo, yeah, newcomer to the series,
filling in for I think you, Demon. Unfortunately, you're not going to be there. Caution: risky strat incoming from Arctic.
What are we going to see from Arctic today?
What are we going to see from Arctic? But during practice,
Arctic's going to start at the hards and let everyone go by.
Yeah, that might be Arctic's not even going to qualify.
Yeah, start from the back.
Gonna try to start from the back.
Yeah, Philo is very quick. Just in practice now, as practice does seem to be, we got another couple minutes left on it. Saw Philo with a 2-minute dead, and then now 159.9. That is wild.
Who invited this guy?
Yeah, who invited it? Well, damn Winters. Yeah, no, it's really good to see, again, just more competition for the guys at top means more racing, and, right, that's what we need to see. Arctic, you can't be the one to pull away all the time. I hate to break it to you there. But really, Nerf Philo, rather. It's excited to see, and Philo is in the BMW M6, as is Winter, actually. So we've got 2 BMWs on the road today, and Demon usually drives the Porsche, which is my cup of tea, but we shall see.
Yeah, it'll be hopefully we'll have a solid race here. Clearly, I think with the addition of a few newcomers, Arctic, you weren't here in the very beginning of the season, and Arctic is going to be someone who's pretty rapid. Looks like Philo, even though they are a reserve driver, they won't be racing every weekend. Looks like someone who is good to have around, and just someone to be able to learn off of and whatnot like that. Be able to compare yourself, right?
Absolutely. This is our 7th race, I believe, in total with both series combined, and it's great to see that we're having mostly full lobbies, race after race. And again, I hope this track doesn't deter anyone from that. It's a hell of a track. It's legendary in my mind. But yeah, I agree with what you said before. It's a track that I actually feel decent at. Personally, again, I'm not going to compare myself to Philo, Tony Cal, and the fast ones in our league. As Crispy's going by on your screen in a really good-looking livery, I gotta say.
Dude, Crispy kills.
Sorry, that just called me. No, yeah, Crispy has been killing it.
I noticed it as soon as I turned to him, and I'm like,
oh, as we caught him going onto the wall.
That concrete will
That's not what you'd like to see.
The concrete does not help the chrome finish that you caught.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to buff it out, that's for sure.
Yeah. So this track is interesting because it's got a few straights that you can make or lose a bunch of time in, but at the same time, if you're not nimble enough, and I have to go back to that intro video where you commented about, you have to become a dancer, you have to become a ballerina. In the S's, it's really interesting to try and nail that balance in your car. Obviously, you don't want to be getting walked on in the straights, but at the same time, if you can't take these S's at any sort of speed, as Gilly looks like he's having a fantastic run at the moment, if you can't take these at any speed, you're going to be losing a ton of time. Even on the way up, it's really easy to, you want to be pinned on the accelerator going on the uphill as much as possible. And it's really easy to, if you let off a little bit, you're losing time compared to someone who's on the throttle constantly.
Yeah, after they're committing to it. I think it's really, really fun to watch and see, to race personally. But I think these guys will end up, have to take a lap here or there, or they're not pushing it the entire time because it's exhausting. It builds up, and we're going to be racing for a while here, so it's just a lot to put into a race. But as we're wrapping up practice here shortly, as you can see Tony Cal saying starting soon, qualifying is going to be getting underway. I think we know who we have here contending for P1, that's for sure.
Yeah, obviously, Philo, with the fastest lap in practice so far, we'll see what happens. Obviously, though, we have our usual suspects who we assume will be at the front. Tony in the NSX. Winter's been proven to be pretty quick in his BMW as well. Gilly in the AMG, always someone to be on the lookout for. And Moose in the Alpha. Now, again, I remember when he first swapped that Alpha, I thought he wasn't going to be terribly quick in the straights, but I think we first saw him at Red Bull. No, maybe it wasn't Red Bull Ring, but he was quick and he was keeping up with anybody. Pato asking, real quick, Pato asking if anyone's got any Vipers on the track today.
Only you, my friend.
Only you.
I don't think I've seen anyone sign up for that car besides you. It's not my favorite car to drive, as it looks like quali is getting underway here. It's going to be exciting to see, as we talked about the different cars and the massive straights really can help people come through. I'm curious to see how Tony Cal's going to go. We know the NSX hasn't been necessarily the quickest on the straights, and but again, maybe able to eat up more time on the corners there. Really wish Demon was here so we could see the Porsche go around it. I don't think it's the strongest track for it, but it's a balanced car, so we'll just have to see. And I think Delps is here in the Ford GT, right?
Yes. So it'll be interesting to see how he does in the Ford. I don't know about. Again, I haven't taken the time to really learn this car at all. It's not something that I typically have been looking to drive, but we'll see how it goes. And now this is gonna be really difficult. If someone screws up in the mountain, you're rude, and it maybe doesn't ghost right away. You can ruin someone's quality lap pretty easily.
Well, we don't even have ghosting in here, so.
That's true, yeah. So I'm thinking about these daily races. So hopefully everyone's a bit patient, but it's still hard. We have quite a train going in. It looks like some guys try to leave a few gaps here and there for themselves to try and not be caught up in traffic in front of them. But as we're getting away, we're actually going to jump up front with a couple of these guys who are neck and neck going on the downhill section now, the S's. And I mean, you can just see how tight this is. There's no room for error. There's no room for, any sort of mislap of judgment. You just have to be on it or you're off. And already we see Mooseman pulling ahead of Tony. Now, I don't think that was just a pure performance aspect from the Alpha. I think Tony may have let off a little bit, at least I'm thinking.
Yeah, I would imagine. And actually behind Tony, we saw Philo with some penalties, and I think I saw, Delps coming down with a couple of penalties. And I imagine that's, I don't know if it's hitting the walls. It's funny, just before in practice, I did a couple of laps to get a feel again for the track, and I got track limits in the downhill section, and I just don't understand how that's possible.
Yeah, I don't know. It's, GT7, even back when we were playing GT Sport, it wasn't always particularly accurate with all the penalties. So it's interesting that it would even give you track limit penalties when there's just concrete walls on either side of you. But
Tony Cal.
I just saw him in the distance as we're on board with Mooseman. He's going to start his first flyer here. So this uphill section is a lot of fun, and because it's uphill, you can brake really, really late to make this right-hand turn. Now, this coming section into this little hairpin, like we saw in the intro video, one racing line, and it is so hard to get that. I think Panorama was a daily race last weekend, and trying to race this track with people in sport mode was just a nightmare.
Oh, I could imagine. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it's hard enough by yourself.
Absolutely.
Mooseman, though, he got right up on the wall. He's doing a fantastic job about using all the track that he has on this uphill section, trying to have that throttle pinned as much as possible. Now here, he's downshifting the second, going into the S's. You can carry a lot of speed, and that was a really quick, awesome job. I was just going to say he's shifting up to third, shifting up to fourth. Now we're back down to second, down to first to make this turn in. Otherwise, you'll get a lot of understeer in that final turn, and he's back on. He's onto the main, the back straight.
That is the Conrad straight there.
Conrad straight.
Yeah, I saw, I'm looking and we talk about the train that we have in qualifying a lot, and Marino really giving themselves a lot of space. And I don't know if Purple Urkel had to pit due to some damage or they just want to try and create a gap to the cars in front of them. So they got a penalty on this out lap, but it shouldn't be too bad for them. But 10-minute quality is not a lot to be affording yourself to go into the pit and get these penalties.
No, definitely something that you don't want to be doing. As we see Mooseman coming across the line, we're going to get our first time for our first flyer here. Mooseman with a 202.6. Doesn't seem bad, but obviously we've seen faster here as Tony and Winter are going to be coming through as well. Let's see what these guys are putting in. Winter puts in a 202.0. Phil with a almost a 210. That's really, really fast. As a rapid.
Yeah, that is quick. And we're seeing some slower times come across the way. Coming around turn 21 or 22 at the chase, I saw a few people headed into walls and then an unsafe rejoin from Delps that caused Tony Calla to make some contact with him. That's just, again, we just had this drivers meeting. It's not what you want to see, and hopefully these drivers settle into the groove.
Is that a second lap for Tony that he's had to pit due to damage?
Yes.
Oh.
Yep. Yeah, it's really unfortunate.
That is not what you want to see. I mean, maybe starting in the back wouldn't be the worst case. And actually, we didn't mention that we are actually starting this race with a grid start instead of a rolling start with the safety car. So Ryan was relieved of his duty from the safety car, at least for now.
They were really just upset that I was faster than them, and they didn't like it. So
yeah.
I get it. It's tough to be overtaken in a vehicle that's slower than you, but it happens. Yeah, this grid start's going to be mayhem. I hate to say it, and I don't wish it, but let's face it, we're starting, I believe, at dawn, and these drivers are going to want to get their elbows out. But, I think you and myself and Tony Cow were talking last week, and your race typically isn't made up in the first lap. It's not made in the first few corners. These races are long, and there's plenty of time to make stuff up, and there's plenty of time to just get caught up, and really you just got to be patient. I understand the rush, but good driving I think comes with it.
No, I agree. I'm just laughing at Pato saying, why you got to cast a crystal like that? They're going to be fine. And no, I think, as long as everyone uses their heads, they'll be A-okay. You were talking about the Porsche, Dingman driving the Porsche and not being here this weekend. We do see Marino in the Porsche. Currently his fastest time is is that 207? I guess realistically this is his only his second flying lap. So we'll see as these times are coming in. Gilly puts a 202.2. I wish those times would last a little bit longer, but I guess we can always jump up and on board with our drivers who are leading currently. Moose, wow, not far off at all from not far off from third at least. He's still a second.
Yeah.
Wow, fellow was rapid around here, man.
Yeah, making the best of that BMW, that's for sure. And actually, I see Winter's right behind Philo, the BMW brothers, I guess.
Yeah, maybe they're trying to get a bit of well, I was gonna say get a bit of a tow, but who knows? Here, realistically, as Winter slides into the wall, and that's gonna be his lap. He might have just enough time to get around the track, and I mean, we're getting 2-minute laps here, so he'll be able to get around and start one less flyer, looks like.
Yeah, that's right. And I believe there is a 3-minute sort of wait. For example, if it'll give you 3 minutes to finish your last lap if the final lap has already started. Mm-hmm. Not that anyone should take 3 minutes to get around here, but we see Crispy took 2:41. They had a bit of an incident before. Now they had to pit, and now they have a 3-second penalty on their out lap because they crossed the pit lane line.
Pit lane entry, yeah.
Yeah, which is very easy to do on this track. I don't know if it was from the entry or exit, but on the exit for sure, you would just want to get out on the main track, and you got to be patient and wait for those dashed lines.
It's very good. Yeah, we're jumping on board here with Purple as we enter the S's and the downhill section of this track. Now, the Peugeot that he's driving did just get a nerf with this latest patch, but he seems to be getting along with it just fine. And we'll see how he had a personal best sector earlier as he was going into this downhill section. So now we'll see as he gets the car set and is pinned, accelerated to the floor on the Conrad straight here. Now he's going to want to keep it pinned pretty much, as long as possible, even with this kink on the right-hand side. keep it right down to the floor, and he's going to brake at the 150, 100, just before the 100 board, maybe around 125 or so, looks like.
Yeah, that's what I like to do as well. Definitely hug the curb going into that a little bit more for me personally, but again, he's under control. Purple's doing a good job here. And here, you could brake deceptively late in these Group 3 cars.
Yeah, plenty of power and plenty of braking power as well. You see Steezy coming in with 207, so Steezy, actually, Purple just bumped him down to 9th, it looks like. Purple up in 6th. Again, someone who, you know, hasn't been the fastest, but we say week after week, consistency, and they've been very, very consistent. So happy to see them up, and actually Tony now in 7th. Tony Cal takes 6th place away from Purple.
Yeah, Tony Cal struggling, but again, had a couple of impeded laps, which is really unfortunate to see. But maybe also will work out for him, so he can sit back a little bit, wait for the mayhem, and then try to make up some time. I mean, again, Philo is just wrapping right now, a 2-minute dead. Mooseman did set a new record, still 1.6 seconds behind, though. That's a big gap to get up to P1, but we'll see. Actually, as I'm seeing, it looks like Moose is in the pits, Winter is in the pits. I don't know if they're waiting for something or maybe just no. They would have to do another outlap, so I think they're done.
That might be it. Now we are on board with our man Specs here, and down in 13th, he has not put in a representative time at all. Now I know he has had quite the week with work and whatnot, so maybe didn't get to be as practiced as he usually would be. I have to imagine that Jaguar is a tough beast to tame on this track. I have a hard time with it just in general. I can't imagine taking that down the S's. It's such a heavy car, even in the Group 3 configuration. I feel like it just feels sluggish, and it feels like you're wrestling it the entire time, in my experience. Now, I don't know what sort of setup Specs has going on with it or anything like that, but hopefully he can put this lap in and get a better time. I'm interested to see if we get a sector pop up. We'll see how he's faring compared to his previous laps. Phil just had a 159.8.
I mean,
that's pretty
what
rapid.
more could you ask for there? Yeah, that is absolutely wild. As you see Philo's flashes on, obviously that was their final lap around here. Specs coming in quick around here.
I'm sorry. That's all right. I was waiting for you, and I realized you were yawning. As we saw behind Specs, Delp's just having a moment going in the grass. We'll stay on board here with Specs as he's going to cross the start-finish line. And where's he going to end up? Let's find out if he's going to have any better of a chance here. Puts it up to 10th, about a half second behind Delps, Delps behind him, who was trying to put in a better time, but obviously was not having a great time on that lap.
Yeah, there was a couple times back there by the chase where I saw Delps mowing the lawn, so definitely something to watch out for. It's not an easy turn. Again, we saw in that intro video, you think it's easy, it's not. I really had to learn to respect that line and respect that corner there. So
Yeah, absolutely. So again, not an easy track to qualify around at all. And I know Tony was saying that he was having a hard time putting laps together, but I'm surprised to be seeing him in 6th. That's pretty rough. But
yeah, but look at who's in front of him. I mean, Tony Cal, he for us at least, he's been a big fish in a small pond. And now that we're seeing other fast drivers, Tony Cal's got competition. And again, Giller ahead of him in the Mercedes, I think just has the legs on the straights that's helping him out. And Giller again has proven very well to handle that Mercedes, and really I'm jealous of the work he can do it as. Delp's coming in saying dirty air. I believe it. I believe that's why we saw you crash a couple times. We saw Winter following Philo. It's gonna take a little while to get to that. But they crashed for just following Philo and having the dirty air. I know how it affects these cars. It unsettles everything. And we'll see how it goes as we're getting ready into the race, it looks like shortly.
Yeah, let's take a look here real quick at the results. So Phil, granted, we said newcomer, reserve driver, he'll get a point for that fastest lap. Obviously, one lap pace does not equal race pace, and it'll be interesting to see with how much Mount Panorama likes to eat these tires. It'll be interesting to see how these drivers are able to how they what they're able to do with that and what sort of strats we're going to be seeing. I know Arctic said earlier that he's got a strat coming in. We're going to see what he's doing. If he goes in on hard, I'll be kind of shocked, because I heard drivers were having a really hard time with the front tires just being ice cold, especially with this night start. So I'm interested to see what Arctic got off his sleeve. Maybe it'll spell disaster, or maybe it'll be something really, really good for him. I'm not sure yet.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what Arctic's got up his sleeve as well. It's going to be a very exciting race, I think. And again, this grid start could spell disaster. It could be very good. I think part of the issue we had with the rolling starts was everyone felt a little bit too bunched up, and everything takes practice, right? So maybe this will work out better for everyone. But again, you've got those false start penalties now to deal with, and that could just screw you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Don't forget about the full starts, everybody. It's not something you want to deal with. And at the same time, the race is not going to be made up in turn one. People who are in the back, patient, and rather get through the corner safe than try and make up a position or two because you see an opening for a split second. Because that opening is going to be going away immediately, right? I'd say maybe I don't want to put ideas into anybody's heads, but I can imagine maybe going too wide into turn one if you really, really feel like it. But I don't think that's going to be wise. I don't think that's the right way to do it. I think you're better off falling in line, getting behind somebody, and just following them up that first straight, going on the uphill. And it's unfortunate because the lap really just start getting tight right after that uphill section. Once you start really going up the mountain at the hairpin, going up that left-hand side where you start,
the cutting there,
the grade gets really steep. It's it tightens up really quick, and it's hard to make a pass anywhere. Maybe at the entrance of the downhill section.
I don't think we will see much of any passing once you get at the cutting and on until you get past Forest Elbow. But Griffin's Bend, I think that's turn 2. I think it's going to be a really good place for people to make some overtakes, because you can carry a lot of speed through there, or you can play it safe, right? So if you catch someone sleeping or catch someone taking a breather, you may very well take that spot, which I think is going to work out really nicely for them. Other overtaking places, depending on your car, the leg it's got, if you can be brave down the Conroad straight into the chase, or Murray's Corner, which is the last turn, if you get a better exit or a better entrance, again, down the main straight into Hell Corner, that could just really set you up for a good lap. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, that second turn, I don't if someone goes wide and you're keeping the inline, you're closer to the apex. Definitely a place where you can pass. I agree. But we're getting ready to go here, and definitely, hopefully, some exciting grid start here.
Yeah, I sure hope so. And I really am hoping that we don't get to see a lot of carnage.
That's the last thing we want here. So let's get our settings ready to go here.
As we see the false start, penalizing warning. Keep your foot on the brake till the race starts. Let's get this going safely. As lights are going up.
Lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. Everyone's revving their engines. We're ready to go. Lights are out, and we are racing here at Mount Panorama. Specs having a great launch apparently, and just ending up in the middle of the screen, going 3 wide. Villa's going to lead the pack here, of course, and it looks like so far things are being kept tight, except for the back. We see a little bit of carnage there.
Some carnage there. I think they tried going 3 wide down there.
Yeah, I think that probably was not the again, we've been saying it all morning, not the wisest move. But let's we're not going to cut into any sort of cockpit views yet, because I want to try and see as much as we can from everybody else. So far, not a whole lot of positions being traded, but we're coming uphill, up to this uphill section and the tight hairpin where things are going to start tightening up, and you're going to just want to stick behind whoever you're in front of and pray that they don't make it a mistake, right?
That's exactly right. Crispy thought he was going to be cheeky there on the inside there. Didn't end up working for him, but he made up a space back into P12, so that was good after his mishap around turn 1.
We're going to jump on board with Arctic real quick. He's on Racing Salt. I mean, I know this track likes to eat tires, so I'm interested to see what sort of strategy We're going to see them play out here as we're coming down to the S's here, our first lap. And so far, so good. I don't see any arrows on my mini-map pointing in the wrong direction or spinning out, so that's a plus.
Yeah, it's always a good sign. Tony Cal down to P7. Purple right up behind him now, coming down the Conrad Straight. And the legs on that NXX, I don't think are going to treat him too well.
No, someone who must have had an insane start, though, at least from what I saw, was Specs. Specs is up in 6th place. From,
yeah,
what, 12th?
For 10th?
10th, something like that, yeah. So great start from Specs. We'll see if he can hold on to it, though, because, no, he's, maybe a bit of unsafe re-entry as he goes back into the other side of the
Specs.
field.
Yeah, they are mowing that grass. It's already cut, guys. It's fine.
Casper's been rigged, man. I'm telling you, it's horrible. Well, if that's our first lap, we had a few things go wrong for a few guys, a few things go right for others. We'll jump with the back of the grid real quick, see what's going on. Steezy up from 13th up to 9th. We got Marino in 10th, Crispy in 11th, and Purple down to 12th. So I guess that leaves our good friend Specs in 13th. Behind where he started. That's unfortunate for Purple and Specs, but I'm sure if either both drivers are able to get back in the race at some point. So unfortunately, we are seeing some damage on Crispy. I assume that's from the lap 1 incident.
Yeah, there was a couple times there where Crispy got a little wily. Again, I don't know if that was all of his own fault, but he did try making a move where he shouldn't have. Actually, coming up right now where he's at, he tried making a move on someone and it did not work out.
That's
so
really
Crispy maybe learning from his mistake. Yeah, really tough spot to make it.
That's not something I would just wait, to be honest with you. It does open up a little bit as we see, like right here, it opens up a little bit, and then it opens up even further as you get closer to the downhill section. I maybe would have waited to see if you were able to keep up with him, but you live and you learn, and he's still racing, so at least we got that going for him. And he's on mediums. Agree. It looks like almost everyone's on mediums from what I've seen so far. Softs, mediums and softs, it seems like have been the popular choices. I wonder if the hards, maybe while they last, they're don't have the grip that these guys are looking for.
Yeah, I mean it's tough too because I'll tell you, again my few laps that I did around here earlier, the softs lasted, not as long as you might like, but again, maybe the goal is just to get out in front, make up that time, and then pit for fuel and go for a long stint. Possibly.
We see Delph with a bit of damage here as well. Not going to be helping him as Steezy looks like he may have his number here in a lap or two if he continues to stay on his rear end. But Steezy, I'm sure, is going to be looking to make up a few places after that qualifying performance. We'll move up the grid, I should say, with Labu in 7th, who I'm sure I bet the McLaren feels pretty good at this track. That's a car I feel feels a bit more nimble than others.
I think that
livery, I love it.
the McLaren does feel good overall, and I think they just buffed it as well in the current in the last patch that happened this week.
Yep.
And here I normally talk about that in WoW, but now we're talking about Gran Turismo, as they do change the characteristics of the cars here and there. There's a meta that eventually evolves, as I'm sure you all see in the daily races, right? So Labu maybe like some of the performance gains that came with it, as it's creeping up on Tony Cal. Tony Cal is still back in P6, which is good, but Mr. Labu looking pretty good right behind him.
Yeah, but you know what? Tony's on the mediums, Labu's on the softs. I could almost put that down to a tire advantage if I had to guess.
Or yeah, especially in the twisty bits.
Maybe a bit of fuel saving from Tony. I'm not really sure. I imagine with his starting position, he's going to want to try and outlast the guys in front of him that may be pushing for track position here. But you're right, Labu is on him right now, and I'm a bit surprised. But again, could be the grip difference. This section's all about grip, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if that's why. We'll keep our eyes on it though, while we'll jump on board with Labu and see if he's able to make up any more space on Tony in the straight, or if Tony's going to walk away or not. It looks like that time is coming down slowly but surely. I don't know if Tony had a better exit out of the final corner or what. Because again, if you take the wrong line at that final turn, you're slowing yourself up a ton.
Yeah, you said the section's all about grip, but it's also about nerves of steel, I think, And again, it could be a setup difference. If Tony Cal's running for more downforce to help it get through that twisty bit, he's going to suffer on the straights. Labu getting into the dirt a little bit, but holding it, looking pretty good here. Down to less than a 0.6 gap to Tony Cal.
Yeah, but Tony's
see what he can do on this next lap.
Tony's opening that up, so we'll keep our eyes on those two as we're going to jump up here real quick with Gilly and see how he's doing now. And Gilly kind of in no man's land at the moment, trying to make up some time and catch up to Moose. And he's definitely wanting to make sure that Tony remains behind him and that gap maybe increases a little bit. I was just seeing a purple sector 1 from Gilly. Though we only have a 202.5 on Philo's side with the fastest lap at the moment. So, we know that he's got room to improve.
We know that he's got pace, but remember, he's on mediums in a car that's fully loaded with fuel. He's not going to be as fast and rampant as we saw in quali. But again, maybe someone with a tow can get a faster lap than they did during quali. We'll have to wait and see. As we do have plenty more laps to go around here. Take it into the scenery. It is just a gorgeous track. I feel like I would just love driving up and down it.
Man, I would love to actually come see a few races here. This would be a life goal, I think, as we see Mooseman coming down the S's for another lap here. I guarantee this car feels great on this track too. Again, he's something that feels light and nimble, but clearly also has the power on the straights that Moose needs. I bet this is a treat to drive on this track.
Yeah, I guarantee it feels fantastic through the mountains. The power on the straights I can't speak to. I haven't driven this car too much. But I guess we'll really see, because Giller behind him, the Mercedes, I know that thing's got a bit more straight line speed. At least when I drove it, it felt that way, and that was a few months ago at this point. But as I'm watching...
Yeah, go on.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Moose started in second, didn't he? Well, he's not in the fourth.
I was going to mention that, yes. And the two people in front are both driving the BMWs right now.
Maybe this is a BMW supremacy track. Who knows?
Very well, maybe, but we know that Arctic is no slouch, and Arctic's keeping up there in the Peugeot. Really good to see again. That car, I do have to give that a shot. I should buy it this week. But I was going to say, Labu and Tony Cal. Tony Cal must have had a moment, because he's back down to P10 now behind Purple.
Wow, yeah, he's not even on my my radar at the moment, unfortunately. My timing screen. That's unfortunate for him. He's going to want to definitely try and catch back up, I'm sure. Which we know he can do. He's proven time to time before that he can do it, but maybe this track just isn't the greatest for his NSX either. Well, that remains to be seen. As we see Arctic closing the gap here on Winter, at least throughout the first sector or so. Winter maybe not getting quite along with the BMW as well as Phil is. Jump on board with Winter real quick to see that gap. Phil has made a 5-second gap now to Winter.
Yeah, that is pretty astounding. We're only 5 laps in.
That's a lap a second a lap, basically.
Yeah, in the same car, on softs. I mean, he's just rampant around here. On mediums, I should say, on mediums. Versus the softs that Winter is on.
Yeah, maybe Winter had one. I'm not too sure. Then that just let him walk away or not. But we'll have to keep our eye on Phil. See, we'll check in on them from time to time. But so far, it looks like they're just gonna be running, their own race. they're racing the mountain right now as
exactly right. But I will say, it looks like we've got a fight for P2 between Winter, Arctic, Moose, and Giller right now.
Oh yeah, all 4 drivers definitely can make up the time. Arctic though, trying to close that gap a bit more. It looks like it might take a few laps, but if he remains consistent and clean, then we can see that time coming down for sure. As we see it coming down to under half a second for these few turns, but it could take just one small straight, and then Winters might be pulling ahead. I'm really unsure of the strong points of this Peugeot.
Yeah, but the Peugeot and the BMW cars, I think I'm going to buy this week and make it a point to drive a little bit, get a better feel for them. But I remember Yuma in the past didn't really care for the BMW. Winter seems to like it, obviously performing well in it. So again, everyone's a little bit different. Everyone has different driving styles and preferences.
Absolutely, but also important to take note, the tire wear. We're in our 6th lap, and Arctic's tires are not looking the healthiest. If we jump on board with Winter, who's also on softs, his are a bit better. I don't know, that could be due to the car, that could be due to the setup, that could be driving style. There's a few different differences. Obviously, Winter's on a wheel and Arctic is on the controller. We know the controller is infamous for being harder to, control tire wear and tire deg a bit. So I imagine Arctic's gonna be pitting sooner than later. In their practice, I wonder how often Arctic was pitting.
Yeah, again, we changed the refuel rate as well with pitting. Something maybe the drivers didn't take into account, but it is now slower than it was previously. So your fuel saving and tire deg strategy may come to play a bit more now, as your pit stops for fuel are going to be a bit longer. Previously I think we saw some drivers though going for multiple stints on the same tank of gas. And that was an interesting thing to see. They just keep switching out those tires and keep riding that same tank of fuel for 2 to 3 pit stops. But speaking of pit stops, Specs already came in from the mediums. Didn't add any fuel, just I guess didn't like how their mediums were feeling around the track. They're now down with a 9-second gap in P13, 9-second gap to the person in P12, which is Crispy.
Maybe it had a bit of damage.
I checked, I didn't see anything, so maybe it just didn't feel like he had the pace on those mediums, which is gonna be tough because now he's gonna make up all this ground on the softs, and interesting choice for sure.
Interesting choice. We are jumping on board now with Moose, who got quite close to the rear end of Arctic in the final corner of lap 6. We're turning to lap 7 now, going into Hell's corner of lap 7, and he is right up on Arctic. Now his tires look about the same wear, but I will say Arctic fuel management seems really good in that Peugeot comparatively to the Alpha and even to the BMW. So I don't know if that might be different to ours. I guess
that could have been his strategy. He did say he had a bold strat, a risky strat coming.
Yeah, it's true. We'll have to see. I'm actually just noticing the Alpha has like a rear view camera in the cockpit.
Yes.
I've never seen that before.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic.
But he just took Arctic like it was nothing, it looks like. So kudos to Moose for taking that position. Excuse me, I can't talk anymore. Arctic though, what is he going to be looking to answer, or is he going to be trying just holding his place for now, you think?
I think Arctic's going to play the long game. I think they're on the sauce for the pace, but I think they're going to play the long game. Of course, they are at about a third of a tank left of gas, and their tires aren't looking too good either. So I'm really curious, and we'll have to follow up with them afterwards to see what their risky strat was, because right now I'm not quite able to make sense of it.
Maybe the risky strat is just using softs until the final pit stop.
Yeah, just really trying to blow his tires out.
Yeah, it's just using all the resources he has available to him.
Yeah, as looks like Moose was easily able to overtake Arctic and is just increasing that gap now. But again, we're not sure, we can't see their power versus their leanness of their engines right now.
Important to note real quick, there is a 17-second gap between 4th and 5th.
Yeah, that is massive.
Wabu being up in 5th is really good. Stevie up in 6th. Purple's back up to 7th, actually. And Tony Cal's made his way back up to 8th. But that 17-second gap is massive, and it's going to be near impossible unless all 4 drivers make a mistake somewhere, right? Try and make up that time. I don't see how that's going to happen. But we'll see. I've been proven wrong.
Absolutely. I was going to say, I mentioned Tony Cal back up in P8. Tony Cal had a really good move on Marino last lap, going right before right after the chase. He was just braver on the brakes and was able to get the spot. But we see Marino coming back with the vengeance, not quite settling for P9 right now as they're coming to Hell's Corner.
Yep, Hell's Corner is right, and we're gonna stick on board with Tony right now, just because we got Purple in our front and center right now, but he's got Steezy in front of him as well. So we can even jump down to Marino real quick, get his point of view on how things might end up shaking up. Again here, though, we're coming up to the corner where we saw Moose take Arctic. Ooh, these guys are going side by side into it. It's gonna give Purple the position. Tony Cal's gonna have to settle for 8th still. These guys are getting nice and close. Who's gonna be first? Tony falls back in the line. Smart move, I think. Be patient. It's not the only corner where you can get an overtake done, and he is right up on him, which is fantastic to see. But those two battling is going to give Steezy in front of them, which, oh no, as Tony has a moment, goes wide, it looks like, and just crash.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. That was really odd, but for now he's got
some front end damage. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just gave the spot right back. It looks like
we're seeing a yellow flag for someone on the downhill section over here.
Looks like Labu had a moment in the downhill section and has got some front end damage now. If I were them, I mean, their softs look okay, but I would just clear up the damage, get a new set of tires, and fuel up.
I think it really depends on how much he feels like it's affecting the driving style, right?
Oh, yeah, we're seeing plenty of people drive around with damage.
So it looks like it may just be front aero. I mean, but that is going to allow these guys to catch up. Yeah, maybe I would just pit and, go for a refresh here. But we'll see what he looks to do. But that's going to mean that's easy. Less than 2 seconds. That gap is now under 2 seconds for fifth. And then of course, we have that small train behind him with Purple and Marino. Tony Cal is going to be trying to catch up, but he's going to be a little bit behind Marino now, unfortunately for him. And it looks like Labu decided to pit. Yep. Okay.
Okay, so we'll see what Labu decides to do. Mooseman's also in the pits. And I think Delps is going to have to come in as well because their fuel was so low. Again, that Ford just loves to eat it.
That GT is tough. So let's see, actually, Moose is out of the pits. We'll see where he ends up in 6th. Looks like Marino may end up passing him. I'm not sure. Yeah, they're fighting for it, but Mooseman just is able to stay ahead for the time being. Now, he's the first of our, I'd say, front leaders to pit, correct?
Yeah, besides Specs, who was up there for a moment. And, yeah, so they're yeah, Giller also pit for mediums. So.
Okay.
Mr. Labu coming out P9 right in front of Specs. That's good. I'm sure he wanted to keep that position.
Not bad for Labu. Then I mean, wow, the gap between 8th and 9th though is massive as well. We have a few different races going on here for sure. As Tony Cal is going to be doing his best to catch up with that damage. Those mediums, though, I mean, well, the rears are really hurting, especially the rear right. But I was gonna say,
yeah, that's exactly right.
They're holding off for now. I wonder when he's gonna look to pit. Is he gonna try and go another couple of laps and try and catch up as much as possible, or is he gonna pit and try to undercut these guys ahead of him?
Well, I'll tell you, he's got to make up his mind soon. We see Philo and Winter coming into the pits right now. And I think Arctic's going to have a look at doing one quick lap now as he rounds the corner, come down to the main street to Hell Corner. Arctic's going to have to put out a majorly quick lap now.
Yeah, and these tires are looking like he's probably feels like he's driving on ice. Winter had no fuel whatsoever. Philo must have been doing a lot of fuel saving. Obviously, he, with the lead that Philo had, he really didn't have to be pushing it that much. And looks like Phil's going to be leaving the pits here momentarily on softs, which is probably a good idea because he doesn't know where he's going to end up, but looks like he's comfortably in second with a relatively big gap from Moose. So it'll be interesting to see how these pits end up. We see that kind of middle pack now all pitting as well. So Tony Cal is going to stay out and basically do the same thing that Arctic is doing a little bit and try to, I guess, overcut. See if he can try to make up some time here. He's got 4 seconds between him and Winter, so he's got track position at the moment for being 5th, but we know that's not going to last.
No, not at all. But again, if they can put in a really good lap right now, just like Arctic is pushing for, as Arctic almost into the wall there.
Dude,
getting slightly, literally driving on ice. His back right is completely dead.
Bono, my tires are dead. He's crying. I don't know, man. That's really tough. I understand the want to do that, but this could be such a slow lap. I think that was it worth it? We'll see. I mean, he does have a 17-second gap between him and second, so this is probably a 30 to 40 second pit stop, I would imagine.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Actually, I'm not too sure with the new fuel rate.
Oh yeah,
slower fuel. So we'll see what obviously he's gonna be pitting. The only other option Arctic has at the moment is to run out of fuel and forfeit the race. So he's going to be pitting. We'll see where that ends up putting him. Philo has a 13-second gap from third, so he's, to bring back an old favorite of mine, he's payphoning right now, right?
Yeah, that's right. Though I got to say, I think on the entrance to the pit lane, and we'll get confirmation of it, I think Arctic crossed the line and may have a penalty because of it.
That's the last thing that man wants.
Exactly right. We'll have to see as it goes down. But yeah, we saw that whole train of the midfield runners come in around the same time. Steezy and Purple and Marino. So they all did their pit changes now. Curious to see what Arctic's going to come out on.
Tony Cal. He's entering the pit.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, I'm looking for him on my radar.
Honestly, that might have been a really good move by Tony. He's got 30 seconds between him and Specs in 6th.
So yeah, it's looking like a really good move. And look at his tires compared to Arctic's.
Yeah, his tires were a pretty good place, right?
Yeah, absolutely. As Arctic comes back out, and it's on the mediums, so Arctic definitely looking to do a bit of a longer stint right now, it looks like.
We're jumping on board here with Labu and Steezy as they're coming around the final corner here in lap 10, going to do another lap here. And he is mighty close to the rear end of Steezy. And Labu's got damage again. I don't know. He must have hit a wall. I can only assume.
Or he didn't take care of the damage.
No, it's yeah, possibly. But in that case, he still has more damage than he did before.
Oh, that's rough. That's rough. Actually, Tony Cal exits the pits and gets past as Dave Giller just had a better speed coming out of the turn 1. But Tony Cal coming out on the mediums now. And
was he on mediums before?
He was on mediums before, so I guess he liked how they felt.
One of you boys, please send over an AR-15. Oh no, Specs, what happened?
I'm not quite sure what happened to Specs. He hit again. He was low on fuel. Oh, Specs maybe put on the wrong tires. I'm really not sure.
Specs just hates this track, I think.
Yeah, you know, we saw a lot of people complain. This is now Specs' 3rd set of tires, and we're only on lap 11.
Yeah, my man's got a bit of a race ahead of him.
Yeah, that's right. I think they maybe didn't need to change tires, or maybe wanted to throw on other softs. I'm really not sure, because all they needed was fuel, from what I could tell. And Crispy is also pit. Looks like Crispy repaired his damage. Is on fresh soft and a full tank of gas. So really interesting these strategies playing out. As Crispy was the last of them to pit, we know he likes to keep his car thirsty as hell for as long as possible.
That's definitely true. But did you say that Gilly came out, or did you say Tony came out ahead of Gilly or behind Gilly?
They came out at basically the same time. Giller just turned hell corner, turn 1, and Tony Cal was coming out of the pits. But because of that, Giller just had the speed to get there. But I know that they had a moment looking up onto turn 2, Griffin's Bend, and whether Giller just played it safe or whatever, Tony Cal, I believe, was able to get the position from there. Oh, but Tony now mowing the grass. Giving back P9 to Giller.
Yeah, but Gilly must have hit a wall somewhere because he's got some damage.
Yeah, he's had the damage for a while. He actually pitted. I don't think he repaired it, if I remember correctly.
Well, we'll jump up with some of our midfield fighters here. Marino, I don't know if Marino has filled in for a race. Another reserve driver. Seems to be doing pretty well, though, for now. You know, someone who was saying that he wasn't too practiced, but yeah, Demon, happy to see what his sports boys represent.
Same here, man. I mean, Marino's doing a good job so far. Again, I don't think this is the strongest, I don't think Porsche is the strongest around this track, but it's very competent. It's very balanced and stable, so it feels great to drive, in my opinion. It's a safe bet around here. That's what I'd say.
Well, it looks like Purple may have had a moment going a little wide, possibly into a wall. We'll jump on board with Marino so you can get a sense again of just how tight this track ends up getting. You have walls all around you. I mean, so again, there's really no room for error. I'd say it opens up a little bit here. You get a little bit of a runoff with the red and white curbs, but that's about it. And now we're coming into the downhill section. Such a hard turn to make. It took me so long to learn the braking point for that turn.
Oh, it's just wow. There's that one, I think it's like the 3rd turn in there, that just, it feels like you're going off a cliff with the quick drop. But yeah, it took a while, but once you get it, it feels great. But again, it's really hard to replicate lap after lap after lap.
Yeah, well, especially with the changing tire, the degradation and how they're wearing and everything else. One thing to note, actually, it looks like Marino did not feel, I'm assuming he didn't fill up all the way with fuel. Otherwise, that Porsche is very thirsty. Well, oh man, that was close. But his tires are relatively fresh, so I don't think he filled up all the way. Maybe just assuming that the tires weren't going to last full tank, so why bother?
Yeah, it's very possible. I think Marino here is in the soft, so very possible. You can be as nice to your tires around here as you want, but they are going to get eaten up, as we see Marino and Purple racing down the main straight. Who's going to have the position here around Hell Corner? Who's going to be braver around here?
Well,
they're still so close here.
But Marino is currently in P7, and I think that Porsche might have the legs on the Renault. I'm not too sure though. But obviously, Purple's also going to have the slipstream, so they're pulling side by side here. We will we'll see who goes. I mean, Purple's going to have to go a bit deeper than he wants to. Leaves enough space on the inside for Marino, but Marino concedes and falls back behind. Now they can't continue going side by side into this, as they Marino had a look-see, but there's just no room for it. There's no room for it. That's a good battle and respected,
it was a respectful battle
for sure.
Yeah, we're seeing that from Steezy and Labu in front of them as well, who, again, they're just coming out of the twisty bits. Steezy maybe will have a look. Steezy's looking a little bit more... Steezy right
Steezy
there.
That re-entry.
That was a very poor re-entry, my friend.
Yeah,
I hate to call people out like that, but...
Steezy was having a look at the gravel, and unfortunately that's where he's stuck. Fortunately for him, Tony is 15 seconds behind. That time's coming down a bit, but he's got 30 tires now. This is probably the worst section to have gravel stuck in your tread, though.
Oh, it's miserable. But I was going to say Steezy was looking a bit squirrely prior to that event as well, so maybe does not care for those tires on his GTR. I'm really not sure.
That's unfortunate to see for Steezy, who was leading that pack for the longest time, it felt like. But, that's going to give, the track position up to Purple and Marina, who are fighting. But, with a 6-second gap to Steezy behind them, I don't think they have much to worry about. But, would you try to almost work together, like not fight so much for this position at the moment and just say, let's try to catch Labu up in 5th? Obviously,
yeah, I think that
the drivers
that
can't
would be my best bet.
But yeah, they're 3 seconds apart. Instead of fighting and giving Labu the ability to, walk away a little bit, it looks like Winter may have had a moment because Labu is catching up quite rapidly.
Yeah, Winter just came out of the pits for a fresh tank of gas and some softs.
Okay, I gotcha. But yeah, I would say, as tempting as it is to fight, man, like try to work together. It's hard to work together on this track because it feels like the straights aren't quite long enough to, like bump draft each other or anything like that. But if you're close enough to do so, man, I would say go for it. Like, I don't know. That's just that's from the armchair commentator, though, right? When you're in the thick of it, it's hard to be thinking that way.
I mean, we've got to talk like we know what we're doing, otherwise the people won't respect us well.
Of course. We're jumping back on board with Marino real quick for another trip through the uphill section of this mountain. It's one of my favorite views, man. This track just it's a treat to drive, a treat to look at, and we have clear skies the entire day. No threat of rain. I would not. If Tony came through this week and said, "Hey, we're gonna have rain at
Bathurst,
at Bathurst," I'd be, are you sure about that?
Yeah, it's funny because I was just going to mention that as well. The weather is nearly perfect right now, so rain around here would just be absolutely miserable.
Oh, Marino goes a little bit wide.
Giving more space to Purple, but Marino's going to have the toe come down here. And again, this next turn as well, you can just stay flat out until you get to the chase. So Marino may be able to get caught up and make a move on Purple, but if anything, just decrease that gap.
I'm looking. Did someone have a moment? No, I think it's going to yeses. I'm looking at the mini map behind us to see what's going on with who. And Gilly down in 11th. Now he's pit. He must have just pit.
Yeah, Gilly pit again. Repair damage. They're on some mediums, fueled up. And actually, who was it? Winter also repaired the damage when they pitted as well recently. So maybe drivers are finding that A, they don't want to be running with it for the remaining laps, or B, it's just impacting them more than they thought it might.
Yeah, we see Steezy entering the pits. Okay. So, I think the damage is probably, especially if it's on the front, if it's on the front arrow, especially like...
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh.
What are we watching, bud?
Crispy was into the wall at the bottom of the hill, and I guess he ghosted because Mooseman just drove right through him. I didn't think we would ever have ghosting in our lobby, but I wonder if Gran Turismo just forces it at some point.
I think GT does force ghosting here or there.
But it's weird. There's no damage on Crispy. Was there? Oh, you're looking at Moose.
Yeah. There was. Where's he at?
Yeah, he's down in P13. There is damage.
Yeah, he's got front end damage.
Yeah. I mean, it looks very odd, the crash, I'm not going to lie. But either way, he crashed.
Well, we saw that with Tony, too, right? Where it looked like he just ended up sideways in a wall randomly.
Yeah.
So it could be a bit of lag. You know, these servers aren't held up with the best duct tape in the world, so.
Just some hamsters running around. But Crispy not feeling that the damage is enough to pit for as he's coming down Hell Corner now. So good to see him keep going as you're watching specs on screen right now. Coming up the uphill section, look a little squirrely on those mediums.
Man, I'm telling you, this Jag just I can't stand the feeling of it. I feel for him right now because this is not seem like it's the car for this track. Paddle asking, explain what ghosting is for those. So ghosting, like if occasionally if there's an incident on track, specs goes into a wall, an incident like that where maybe you end up the wrong way, Gran Turismo will ghost, so make it so that way like your car is a bit see-through and makes it that way drivers don't run into you. Like drivers end up being able to drive through you instead. Yeah. And so there are settings that you can turn off in the lobby settings to disable ghosting, which we have, but I think Gran Turismo at a certain level will just, for certain things, ghost regardless. I don't think there's a way to turn it 100% off.
Yeah, we don't want full control over a game.
Not at all.
I mean, honestly, though, it was good whatever happened there because Moose would have went straight up into the side of Crispy.
Right, exactly. Like those kinds of ghosting, I think is good. Ghosting, like sometimes in some of the daily races, you'll find where everybody's ghosted no matter what. There's actually no contact.
Right. Don't ask me how I know this. He says if you flip the car over, it definitely does that. I would imagine. I'm watching up in our front runners right now. Fellow has a 22-second gap to Mooseman and P2, and Mooseman's having to pit now. So that gap is just increasing more and more. Absolutely incredible to see.
How's Phil's fuel looking?
Got about a quarter tank left. His softs are about halfway dead. I mean, like, it's just incredible what they're doing right now.
Yeah, I'm sure they're just fuel saving. You know, they have no need to be pushing it, right?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that 23-second gap is just, and now it's even bigger. Obviously, it's almost 40 seconds to Arctic and P2 now.
Wow. Yes.
Yeah.
We're on board with Gilly at the moment, who's quite close behind Steezy in 10th, and I can imagine maybe once we get down to the Conrad straight after the downhill section that we might see Gilly having a run here on Steezy. This is a dangerous place to be trying to fight, though. I mean, you have to have a lot of trust in the driver in front of you to be going at it full speed.
Oh, that's for sure. I mean, again, we don't have the ghosting enabled typically, and it just, you can just get caught up in someone going slower than you or not being as brave as you, I should say, realistically, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting to note that, sorry, were you saying something?
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's interesting to note, I'm surprised at the lapping that's happening already with the front runners, but I guess when you also take into consideration the pit stop, the track gets all sorts of screwed up when you introduce the varying pit stop timers, as we see Philo coming up on Gilly and Steezy.
Yeah. Philo looks like maybe they're just pushing the end of their tires and fuel down. Probably going to be pitting at the end of this lap or the very next one at the latest, I would think. Tony Cal's also in the pits with front and rear damage. I wonder if they're going to be clearing that up. Yeah,
I think they're going to have to.
Yeah, as they do. I see they're all fresh and new, so hopefully has a good stint here. Tony Cal. We never like see someone having a bad day.
No, as we see Gilly with a great move here on Steezy, going up to the second in the corner, and he had the inside line, and he was able to just get on the throttle maybe a little bit sooner than Steezy, and he took ninth place from him. Now these guys are both going to be having blue flags for Phil, who's behind them. Obviously, though, like we said in our driver meeting before the race started, that on the uphill and downhill section, like just don't bother. You just, like the front runners are gonna have to just be patient.
I'll tell you what, though, we did just see Philo get past Steezy. Steezy went to the wall a little bit, slowed down enough, and Philo was just able to sneak on by. So,
yeah, well, between that and Delps is having a hell of a moment. I don't know what he's doing. We were on board with Gilly, and Delps was just slamming into walls and wall riding basically the entire time. So Philo's going to take that position, and now Gilly can give the position to Philo, but it's main straight, and you don't want to be sacrificing your race to give up blue flags. Gilia has always been really good about the blue flag situations. I don't think he's going to have to worry so much about it here.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with that. I think it'll shape up just fine.
Yeah,
for
and just
them
like
here.
that, he's off the main racing line. He gives it to Philo, which is really good. Though he did end up sacrificing a bit of speed for that, and you can see that with the gap that Steezy has on him now. But again, a second and a half, 2 seconds, while Steezy and Delps are fighting back there, that's fine for him. As I'm sure Delps has to pit. He has massive damage. Steezy, no damage, surprisingly.
Yeah, it was really just a brush with the wall, but when you're going downhill like that, a slight brush with the wall is still enough to slow you down to the point where someone like Philo there was able to make the move, and just worked out.
Oh no, Specs behind Steezy's having a minute too. He's going a little squirrely. That tire wear, it's not looking too good. I don't know, maybe it was just out of that first turn. So we're getting some elbows out here while we can on this track. It's things are heating up for some of the guys, that's for sure.
Yeah, you want to have fun, I mean, that's part of the thing too, is like we all want to have fun no matter what, and racing is supposed to be that. Tony Cal having a really nice move on Labu. Labu just came out of the pits.
Great move.
Yeah, again, Tony Cal proven to be more brave than others around that turn again.
Man, that was quick.
Yeah, that was awesome to see. Wow,
Yeah.
Tony Cal just pulling away from Labu up there too. Labu most likely just not feeling super comfortable on those brand new mediums. Tony Cal did have a lap to warm his up, so.
Yeah, I mean, Tony's going to be trying to make him some time. I'm sure he wants to be catching the back up with the midfield pack he was fighting before, amongst Purple and Marino. And Tony.
Oh, Tony Cal
has a moment going down to the downhill, and he is parked up right now.
Holy.
Well,
what a moment that was.
It looks like Labu must have also had a moment, though, because no damage, but...
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Labu's in the wall now.
Labu, I don't know if he's having steering wheel issues or what, but yeah. And Philo's coming around. We're seeing a lot of Philo right now as he's just passing all these guys by once again. Man, Philo is quick, dude.
Yeah, who invited this guy?
We're gonna jump on board with Phil. I'm interested to see what a lap in his BMW looks like. We're got a little bit left of lap 19, but we'll stick on board with him.
Fun fact about BMWs, Wally, is that stalk that's usually to the left side of your your wheel?
Yeah, that's to indicate when I'm turning.
Yeah, that's an optional extra in BMWs, and they just choose not to pay for it.
So, are you saying that he should be telling these guys when he's trying to pass them? Or?
yeah, exactly right.
Demon throwing some shade, saying, "Damn, I could have been faster than Tony this week."
You could have, man. You very well could have been. Oh, as we see Specs in the pits again.
Maybe he had some damage.
Yeah, maybe. They were on mediums previously. Can't imagine they went out already, but maybe it was just for fuel and he pitted for tires anyway.
Maybe.
Oh, man.
Phil just trying to take everything with this race, huh? He's got the pole position.
Yep.
He's gonna be. I mean, nobody was able to touch his 2-minute dead on qualifying earlier, so chances are he's gonna be putting in a quick lap here again, and he's got 10 seconds between him and Arctic in second, so again, so he doesn't really have to waste. He's getting as close to the wall as possible, looks like, without really detrimenting himself.
That's right, and actually just ahead of Philo that you're watching right now, we're seeing a fight between Labu and Specs for P10, and just in front of them, is that Tony Cal? Yeah, I'm sorry, so behind you, I should say.
Yeah, Tony Cal is just ahead of Philo at the moment.
Oh, Tony Cal is squirrely again in there.
Yeah,
Tony Cal just unable to hook it up in that downhill section.
Is he in the mediums or softs, Tony?
Tony is on the mediums right now. Some rear end damage, but I don't know, man.
Yeah. Well, Philo's going to pass him here anyway. Yeah, that's a quick lap for Philo for sure.
Yeah, definitely a quick lap. Great racer, looks like, and really getting a lot of that out of that BMW.
See how our friend Arctic over here is doing. He's got to be pitting this lap for sure. Fuel and new tires.
Yeah, I would imagine that right rear, even on a medium. But look at the fuel saving that Arctic, I think, was able to do. Really maximizing both fuel and those mediums for a pretty good stint.
Yeah, that might be the strat, like we were saying earlier, right?
Yeah, exactly right.
Steezy
also in the pits.
Demon saying Phil is sweeping the field. Yeah, man, he is going for it.
Yeah, looking really good in the BMW. And honestly, who else was in the BMW? Winter, yeah. Winter's up at P4 right now. 10 seconds shy of Moose in P3, but still doing a really good job for Winter. I know Winter, is also we have several people fighting for podium now, which is massive. You can't just assume it's going to be one over the other.
No, of course not. Man, that R car looks so good.
It really, really does.
Yeah, Demon, it looks like the BMW is a really strong track for the BMW. W. So we got Gilly here in 5th. A minute and change off of 4th place. Wow.
Yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
Specs have another moment, giving P10 or giving P9 back to Labu, and at this uphill again, I'm watching just. Again, and this is what we were saying about that consistency lap after lap, especially through this highly technical track. It gets to you after some time. You can't be on it lap after lap. Well, most people can, right?
I know I can't. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, that's why we're here doing our armchair racing.
Exactly. Great race so far. I'll try to catch the rest later. Demon, you take care, bud. Take it easy. Have fun. We'll
Enjoy.
Be here.
Yep, thanks for jumping in.
We'll be here. Yeah, it's really tough to say. We've had quite a few pit stops already, and we're just getting to the halfway point of this race. I know we were saying earlier that this track loves to eat tires, but lots of different pit strats, going on. And at one point it's, you just full send the entire time and just try to make up ground while you're out on the track and just, throw on new tires.
Yeah, you very well could, but again, I think, you're mentally going to need a break here and there, so using those fuel-saving laps maybe could really help you out. As I just saw, Delps made a good move on Steezy as they're approaching the last corner here. Delps, though, going wide now.
Looks like there may have been some contact. I think Steezy ended up slowing up to give the position back.
Oh, yeah, now Moose is right up there, so Delps is going to have to get the position, not even caring that Moose is there. What is happening here?
We're seeing some aggressive driving here, man.
Yeah, that's some carnage. Just give me a minute here to not note all that down.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So, I'm not sure where entirely that started. That's the end of lap 20, I would say. Check out going into lap 21. And we got Steezy in 12th, Crispy holding up the rear in 13th. Some more down, that might have been the same downs that he had before. Unfortunate to see on such a beautiful car, but I wonder how he's getting along with that Nissan. I imagine it's pretty solid, but I haven't driven that car in a minute, so I'm not entirely sure. I think he's got Arctic behind him as he gets a bit squirrely. Those tires looking bit worse for wear, and definitely probably going to be pitting, I'd imagine, at the end of this lap. So it's kind of wild to see how much of this grid has really spread out. We have a few guys in the S's at the moment, but other than that, it's just like, you know, everybody's kind of everywhere at the moment.
Absolutely. And funny, you know, you're talking about Crispy pitting. He's the only driver that's only done 2 pits so far, from what I've seen.
Wow.
Everyone else is at 3 or more. So, really just bringing the tires and the fuel to the maximum there. As we're seeing Crispy has Arctic right behind him, like you said. What's going on with Purple here? Looking like he's racing all alone.
Purple, yeah. I'm looking for some action on track, and it's tough to find. It's everybody's kind of spread out quite a bit. Where, you know, there's not a whole lot of. I mean, I know we're a car down from our usual 14, but yeah, guys are just racing themselves and racing the mountain at this point. Purple's someone who, I mean, he's back up to P6 right now. Relatively fresh tires.
Steezy and Delp's going back at it. I hate to interrupt you. You're looking for action. They're just coming around the main street again. Specs in the pit again. What is he doing?
Man, Specs not having. Oh, that was a really, really late cut by Delps to get that turn 1 and try and close the door, but Steezy also with some late braking, it looks like. I don't know.
Yeah, these two are. Our elbows are going out quite a bit as Specs jumping into chat again, screaming. All right, chill, Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, that's a pain scream if I've ever seen one. Vinrick saying aggressive car fisticuffs. Yeah, man, these two are not letting each other have it realistically, and I know it's a tough track, tough race, but again, you know, the race isn't made in one lap.
No, it's not, but I do have to give Delps props. I mean, I feel that GTR's got to be much better around here than that Ford, and Delps is making it work so far, it looks like. Again, some questionable actions, I think, but between both of them. We'll see how it keeps going. Specs screaming through the void, filling up on gas. That's exactly right.
I mean,
that's exactly right.
With the price of petrol these days, you know, it's completely understandable. Whenever I roll up to like Speedway, I just like to scream at the gas tank.
Oh, absolutely. And I drive and you drive a more fuel economic car than I do.
No, the Honda CRZ is a shit sports car and a shit hybrid. It's not great at either. But
yeah, but your mileage is still higher than me, that's for sure.
No, not really.
No, the road trip we took was the highest I've seen of my car since buying it. And I drive, for everyone, I drive a 2022's Honda Civic Sport. So it's not exactly screaming. Look at this. The race has gotten so boring that we're talking about fuel MPGs on a base Honda Civic and a Honda CRZ. This is the commentary people are here for, right, guys? I think so. Everyone give it up for the Civics, for the Honda gang. Gang. I walked out and drove to Vegas last week it only took 8 gallons. Wait, what is EV? Oh, an Evo, like Wally. No. I drove to Vegas last week for Evo. Oh. Come on, man. Use your eyes. All right, so Steezy had a moment, and it looks like he's pitting. Maybe he's getting rid of the damage. I'm not. It looks that way. Yeah, definitely looks like tires and fuel are just fine. Phelps can breathe easy with the knowledge that Steezy's no longer on his breathing down his neck. But he's got some ground to make up if he's going to do any of it. Oh, and Steezy with a 3-second penalty. Oh, it's a fighting game tourney. Oh, okay. Oh, that's fun. Nice. That sounds awesome. It only took 8 gallons. Where were you driving from? That's pretty good. And what were you driving? That's the biggest. A Hummer. NH1. A Hummer? No, I'm just throwing it out there. Oh yeah. Hold on, that thing. Hummer takes 8 gallons to drive out of its driveway. Just start the car, yeah. So we'll move around the field, just check on, see how everybody's doing. Tony Cal up in 8th for the time being, about a third of the tank of fuel left, and some damage and some tire deg. So, I mean, with the pit length, he's probably gonna end up behind Delps, but ahead of Specs, I'd imagine. Well, Delps and Specs are currently fighting. They're going down the downhill, and there's a tiny gap between them, but really curious to see how this is gonna shake out. Yeah. Vincent from LA in my super impressed. Okay, that's pretty good then. I'll give you that. Yeah, that is pretty good. Joke's on you, he walked on 8 gallons of fun. Well, I also could run on 8 gallons of beer through a night, but hey. Hey, that's true. I'm sorry, Specs was not fighting Delps. That was Arctic. I just took a quick glance. Yeah.
Gotcha. So we got Gilly up in 7th, and this I know it's just the it's a take on the F1 livery, but this livery looks fantastic. Kudos to you.
Oh, it does.
So I wonder how Gilly's been getting along. For someone who in the past has been really good with fuel and tires, someone that's we're always commenting on about lack of fuel usage and tire wear. I wonder how he's actually been getting along and how he feels about this track in his car.
Well, I'll tell you right now, Giller is on his 4th set of tires. Started out on softs and has been on mediums ever since. So whether the softs just weren't working out for him, or they just find that their mediums are matching up with their fuel usage at this point, it's currently their strat.
Gotcha.
As I'm watching Specs really keep up with Arctic right now. I mean, like, really keep it up with the Arctic. Maybe using a tow to help pull him along, but we know Specs could be a front runner who's currently down in P10, but making that Jag do some work.
I don't know, man. It sounds like the only thing that Specs wants to be front running to is away from this track.
That's for sure. Specs not having a good time today, unfortunately, as, just watch people go more and more around this beautiful circuit.
Yeah, man, he's on those softs though, and it looks like he didn't refuel, or at least if he did refuel, he refilled probably half a tank. So maybe he's just trying to get the most pace out of his car as he can, and be like, I'm not racing anybody up front. I might as well just put good laps in and see what I can do. If the mediums weren't feeling great, just friggin'. I mean, I don't know how good that is for a long term, but considering we gotta have 3 races to go, but I'm not the one driving, so who am I to say?
No, you're exactly right. Now, it's funny you mentioned how the race kind of has settled out a little bit. We are going to start seeing more people come into the pits, I think, for fuel, and that may shake things up a little bit as Moose does come into the pits. Marino's also in it. But this tends to happen typically, I feel like, around the halfway point as we see the strategy sort of spread the field.
Yeah, maybe different strategies starting to come through, and then who's going to end up where. But it's just the spread is pretty wild. It's a 2 minute plus lap. So I guess it's if the delta is big enough, between the fastest lap, the front runners who let's say are running 2 minute to 202s, and then if you're running 205s or something like that, over the course of a few laps, and the length of this track is definitely not the shortest that we've had. I suppose it'll add up fairly quickly.
Yeah, I would imagine it. I'll tell you right now exactly how long it is. So the track is 6.1 kilometers or 3.8 miles. So it's not short. Again, 2 minute laps aren't exactly the quickest thing in the world. But I'm just looking at, for someone like Winter, who's doing a really, really good job, looking like they're between 203, 205 right now for the most part. They obviously pitted and lost some time on that those 2 laps, but looking strong. Winter really looking strong. I think obviously they want to be on that podium. Maybe P3 might come their way, but right now it's looking pretty strong for Philo, Arctic, and Moose.
Yeah, I mean, it takes something catastrophic, I feel like. What happened? Who are we watching?
Oh, watching Marino. They just had a moment at the downhill at the end of it. They ended up in the wall. Doesn't look like any damage, but it's going to give Delps a chance to close the gap a little bit.
Yeah, Delps seems to be running into some walls on this downhill. No damage at this point, but maybe just the wide body on that Ford GT.
Yeah, I think so. As we're seeing more and more people come through. Steezy has Winter right behind him, it looks like. Again, it's really fun seeing all these front runners getting caught up on the uphill and downhill section. The twisty bits, as I like to call them.
Twisty bits. Yeah, Steezy goes a little wide on that. That man, you have to be really slow, I feel like, going into that final turn, because with the grade at which it is and the banking almost, your front tires feel like they're doing nothing.
Absolutely.
So if you're taking too much speed into them, it's like you can't turn the car, and then you end up running wide, and that's all she wrote.
That's right. Now we're seeing Purple is gonna have to pit again eventually, but Purple's up into P5, looking very good.
Yeah, someone who was fighting a lot of the Marino and I mean, they had like a 4 or 5 person train earlier. I think Purple's having a fantastic race for themselves again, turning out and just having a good time and putting their head down and putting laps in, and it's paying off for them.
Yeah, I have to agree. And if they can increase the gap to Giller behind them, they're going to come out right next to them, which is really, really great to see. Now, Giller is on fresher mediums and has more fuel, but really curious to see how that's going to work out between them. We'll check it in another few laps.
Yeah, well, even if Purple were to pit right this second, he'd be just behind Gilly, but Marino wouldn't be in danger of Marino taking his spot either. So realistically,
Right.
I don't think that's the worst thing to be in. But he's still got a few laps before he needs to pit. We'll see what happens. And was Purple on mediums? He's on softs too, so he's got maybe a bit of pace to put through as we see Purple coming up behind Crispy here. Crispy gonna be getting those blue flags for Purple. And let's see if I don't think he'll be able to pass him before we get to the uphill section. So Purple may just have to be patient, which is unfortunate for him if Crispy isn't too rapid in this mountain pass section, but that would be good for Gilly at the very least. Unless Gilly's can be in front behind someone as well, behind the back marker.
Yeah, that's for sure. Now, a few laps ago, I did mention, we got yellow flags over by Specs and Arctic. I wonder what happened. But I did mention how Specs was following Arctic around, and still, how many laps later are they doing? I mean, really, it's amazing to see. I wonder if those flags were for Delps, who is now in the pits.
That's a good possibility, I bet.
Yeah, looking at some front-end damage on Delps.
Oh man, we see Crispy going into the grass, gravel, and the wall. So that's going to let Purple pass by him without a problem. Unfortunately for Steezy, unfortunately for Crispy, I imagine some more damage if I were to come on board real quick. And wrong person was Crispy. Oh, did we actually have someone leave? We're down to 12 cars?
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to have to figure out what happened as Crispy ends up in the wall.
Oh no. That front end damage, it's a lot, man. It's pulling him to the left. He's fighting that car pretty badly. I know he doesn't like to pit with damage, but I imagine he's gonna have to.
Yeah, it's tough too. I think Crispy just keeps trying to gain as much time as possible there in that downhill section, but that's really the first, second or third time I think his front bumper has ended up in that wall. Was it the Falcon sponsorship wall? Yeah, it's like magnetically attracted to it. I'm not quite sure what's going on there.
Must be the chrome. And Vinrick saying Crispy really fighting some demons. No, Crispy's gonna stay out. He's not pitting. Man, this guy does not like the pits.
Yeah, I think, instead of a salary, he probably pays his pit members per stop. So
yeah,
they're not trying to go in there too often.
Save a couple bucks here and there.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, let's jump on board with our race leader real quick and see how he's doing. And almost 30-second gap between first and second here. Wild to see.
Yeah, it really, really is. I don't know how Village is doing it. And they had they had a bigger gap previously. They had like a 6-second penalty after coming down at the downhill. I'm not sure what happened. Maybe they crossed the pit lane entry and exit. Yeah, Philo. Yeah, kind of wild.
Maybe they're playing on New Game Plus. And he's like,
yeah.
I'll take a penalty. It's all right.
That's right. As Specs finally enters the pits after following Arctic around for I don't know how long. Really something to see, though. I hope it worked out for him. He wasn't just in dirty air the entire time.
Yeah, I hope not. But Arctic doing pretty well right now. But he does have just a 6-second gap between him and Moose. So when Arctic does eventually have to pit again, he'll be falling back down the order. It'll be interesting to see as we get into the later phases of the race where these guys do end up as far as their pit stops go. Will Arctic end up in second with a gap? Moose end up ahead of him with a gap, and because at this point in time, it's really hard to tell where these guys are going to end up for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, we still have plenty, 18 laps, 17 laps to go, really, and plenty more pit stops to make, and probably a lot more mistakes to make, honestly. I mean, we're seeing people in the wall every couple laps at this point.
Yeah, it seems like these walls are built built for tough, I suppose.
Yeah, that's right. I think we lost Labu. I'm not seeing him on the radar anymore.
Wabu's my okay. Yeah, I wonder what happened. Maybe it was a wheel issue.
Yeah, maybe they did mention earlier they're having the brake issue with their Thrustmaster, I believe, right?
Yeah, I'm not too sure because they were having a pretty good race.
Yeah, actually, here we go. I'm checking Discord now. Their screen wasn't centered on their car. Interesting.
That is bizarre. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, instead his screen was going left and right randomly. What an odd thing. Oh, yeah. Oh, man, that is brutal. So that would explain why I think we started seeing Labu just riding the wall. I just couldn't really drive properly.
Yeah.
That is a damn shame. Let me take a note of that here while you go and take us through what's going on screen.
Yeah, we're riding along with everybody, seeing what they're up to, admiring the scenery and the liveries. Vinrick saying these walls are really rock solid. Yeah, man. We see Winter actually going to be entering the pits, refueling and getting some new tires on. We'll jump on board. The person closest to him is Gilly, but he's got a minute to make up, so unfortunately he will not be doing that at this pit stop. Gilly, though, kind of in no man's land, just again racing himself for the moment. He doesn't quite have the pit stop built up between him and Purple, who's now in 6th. Purple ended up pitting. Okay, so Purple's got a 3-second gap between himself and Marino behind. So, but he's got brand new sauce, full tank gas. He's gonna be pushing a bit. Marino, on the other hand, if we jump over to him, on a little fairly used sauce and about half tank fuel. So we'll see. I'm sure he's gonna be trying to catch up to Purple in front of him, see if he's able to make up any sort of ground. But behind him, he's got Tony Cal 18 seconds behind. Tony, unfortunately, man, this is just not the race for you, bud. And, whether there was a couple of mistakes in the beginning that put him back, but definitely the race that he's going to want to try and forget. But again, we were talking earlier about the NSX maybe not being quite the car for this track. I mean, I'm sure on the S's and everything, it's great. But if you're unable to end up any sort of straight line speed compared to your rivals' cars, then obviously you're going to be falling behind. Behind Tony, we've got Sneezy in at 9th place, who has a nice 9-second gap between himself and Specs behind in 10th. So again, another driver who's probably going to be pitting at the end of this lap, I imagine, and that will put him behind Specs at the very least, behind Delps for sure, probably in front of Crispy. Yeah, if I had to guess, yeah. Though Delps with some damage, I think Sneezy's going to end. So I wonder if Delps is going to end up pitting or not.
I don't think so. I think they're probably going to stay out. They're not not the only driver, I should say, that's been driving around with damage throughout the race. Maybe it takes another hit or two for him to come and pit for it. So I just see Crispy not really hitting the wall too hard, but Crispy's also got front end damage that he's been driving around in. So if you can make it work without sacrificing your race pace, I think you're going to. I was going to say, Tony Cal has been on the mediums this entire race. And obviously, we have that compound change requirement. And I wonder if just the sauce aren't lining up with their fuel strategy or just their fuel use and they don't feel like it's worth it.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I just wonder if maybe they will be going for... I can't imagine. We haven't seen anybody on hards at all this race.
No, not at all.
Maybe he's going to take sauce at the last stint and just... or hard. The thing that would make more sense to me is take hards and try to outlast the last pit, someone else's last pit stop.
Yeah, I mean that would be a thought. I think Tony Cal is pretty in our past races is one to use mediums the entire time and then use sauce right at the end. Whether that's a fastest lap attempt or just a let's just throw it to the wind and see what happens. I know that I don't have to make my fuel last as long. It could be a calculated move.
Yeah, possibly. I will say I'm surprised looking at his lap times. I was able to put in like a 208. I'm just relatively surprised at the driving today. Not to crap on
Not to knock
anybody.
him.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised. I've come to expect more.
No, well, that's what I was gonna say. We've come to expect Tony Cal to be blazing quick, and it just seems like it's not working out for him today. And the NSX, he made a last-second change to that, I remember, and unfortunately, maybe it's just not working out for him in the series. Maybe he needs some attention from Polyphony Designs at the developers behind Gran Turismo. Digital. Thank you. Sorry.
Please. Yeah, maybe I just imagine that. He did say, I hope it doesn't, end up kicking me. And there's going to be tracks where it's stronger. There's going to be some tracks where it's not, just like every other car. Obviously, like we were saying earlier with Beeman, this track looks like it's very well suited for the BMWs. Look like they're having a hell of a time. The 4C looks like it's doing great. Obviously that's also driver based as well, but perhaps the NSX just, if we were to have a tier list, let's say, and for this track, if the BMW is an S tier, maybe the Alpha's an A tier, maybe the NSX is like a B tier.
Yeah, but it's again really interesting because we see Philo and Winters driving the BMW, but Moose in the Alpha and Arctic in the Peugeot, those aren't very popular cars to my experience and knowledge to be driving around in races like this, and they're handling themselves very, very well.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. The Peugeot is something. Yeah. I wonder if Arctic took the Peugeot because it is a favorite of theirs, or it just when they joined the league.
That's what was available.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of both, but really seeing them put it to good use. Again, I'm a fan of their livery. It just looks clean to me. And they're a good driver. I mean, they do get aggressive sometimes. We see that a lot, especially in the MX-5 Cup. And actually, now that we're talking about the MX-5 Cup, makes me wonder, last race was Tony Cal's first race in VR, but of course that was in a much slower car. And now he's racing around Mount Panorama in a Group 3 car. Maybe it's giving him a bit different of an experience,
Yeah, definitely a possibility. Yeah, I have to imagine it's not the easiest thing to get used to, especially depending on the track. Maybe something like this that's a bit more, what's the best way to put it? Just tight. It's a tight track. It's a hard track, man.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It is unforgiving around here. But if you do jump on board with Tony Cal, if you don't mind, gotta give it up for his livery game. Again, that Amex livery is looking pretty good to me. I like it a lot.
Oh, Amex. The credit game, man. Yeah, no, it's good.
I just caught wind of it. I mean, most drivers doesn't look like they busted out anything new, but Crispy and Tony Cal, again, big fan of both of theirs. And if we jump on board, Winters is newer, yes. Yeah, that's right. I think he had that last race, or maybe it was a weeknight lobby, or a different color. But if we jump on board with our current race leader, we can give theirs a rear look as well right now. R.A. Philo. Looking like a neon orange and yellow front end.
They look like blue. They look like a pair of track shoes.
Yes, I couldn't place it. That's exactly what it looks like. Yeah, dude, just got to get your bright ass shoes. It's fine.
Well, everyone knows that the brighter your car, the faster it is, right? So.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot that's how it works.
Yeah, they added that in the last patch.
It's when they buffed the other cars, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So Philo, man, purple sector 1, but though very worn, soft tires, low fuel. I'm sure they'll be pitting in a lap or so. But with the 50-second gap almost, they're gonna be able to pit and probably fuel up, and they'll have a smaller gap to Moose, but nothing too worrying, especially with the fact that Moose has to pit themselves relatively soon. So we'll jump on board. I guess we'll jump on board. We'll work our way through the grid once again. Down in 12th is Crispy, who is pitting once again for fuel and wear and repairs, I'm sure. We have Steezy in 11th, going a little fast going into this downhill section, but nothing that they weren't able to save. again in no man's land at the moment, trying to catch Delps in 10th, but 34 seconds is quite time to make up. Steezy continuously, I feel like, is taking a bit too much speed into that final downhill turn, and maybe he's going wide. It could be the lag a bit as well, though. I'm not entirely sure, but it seems like it's a consistent thing every time I jump on board. Maybe it's faster. Again, I'm not the one. Ayo Arctic just ate shit, says Specs. Did Arctic? Did he though? I see no damage. Winter's right behind. Oh, you're right. What happened there? I wonder. That's a. Ooh, and we have a yellow flag going off the mountain. At least briefly here. Wow.
I am back. I'm hearing you say, yeah, definitely looking like Arctic ate shit somewhere. I'm curious, Specs, how you're typing this out. Did you have to pit again for another set of mediums? I guess so. I must have missed that.
He was in the pit. Yeah, he was just pitting. Wow. What happened with Arctic?
Yeah, well, I can't wait to see that. We'll have to throw it in the highlights maybe, or just check it back.
Yeah.
Specs always yelling from the pit. That's right, he is. He's an angry Irish fellow. I don't know what you expect.
Arctic going a little bit sideways on the downhill section. I'm sure Winter is going to be trying his hardest to catch up and take this position. Got a little bit damage, half tank fuel, a bit worn softs. But compared to Arctic, if we jump on board with Arctic real quick, Arctic's on, barely used mediums. He's got a bit more fuel. But even if Winter's able to take this position, assuming Arctic weren't wow.
Yeah, but then the pitch changes might work out for Winter. Really, what did I say? I don't know how many laps ago now, but Winter really, it just takes one mess up for Winter to be back in the game for podium, and looking like it might just work out for them. Of course, if they do get past them, it's up to Winter to keep that position, and that might not be so easy to do against Arctic.
No, not at all, but he is certainly having a run on Arctic right now as we're going down the front straight here, coming into Hell's Corner. Turn 1, Winter's going to have the inside line. Winter, and wow, Arctic just says, you know what, you can have it, take it.
That's exactly right.
He didn't
of course,
even
Arctic.
fight it.
No, he didn't, and maybe Arctic just knows that they can get it back later. Of course, we do know that the BMW is looking very good on this track, but Mooseman ahead of them, already on the uphill section, had a free pit stop. And that's just, granted, that pit stop did bring them down to 10 seconds behind, or 10 seconds in front of Winter down P3, but it's still, again, it's going to need a mishap to occur for Moose to give up P2.
Yeah, absolutely. Moose is honestly sitting pretty right now for a good P2 finish, assuming, of course, that he doesn't make any mistakes. Anyone can make mistakes at this rate. But, so far, it looks like Phil has not had many that we can tell at the very least. And if he has, then he's just walking away anyway. Moose being 10 seconds ahead of third place is a really good spot to be in. These two are going to get caught up by, I think, Crispy in front of them, it looks like. Yep.
Oh, I'm watching Delps now just hit the wall. Not having a good time again.
Let's see here. Let's see who's able to get past. If Winter is able to get past by Crispy without a problem, now Arctic's going to want to catch up and get past as fastly as possible, right?
Right, but Arctic's going to have the straight line speed on Crispy. Like, Crispy can't just brake and slow down to let it give up the spot.
No,
okay, as Arctic
not.
does get past. Obviously, we did mention maybe letting off the gas when you can to let one of the front markers get by, because we're not doing it through the mountains.
Right. But even still, he got off the racing line, which is good when Arctic go by. But Arctic's still second behind right now as Winter pits. And Arctic is back up to third for now.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what Winter's pit strategy is going to be here right now. Winter obviously knowing that they were going to need fuel the next, handful of laps, but also having some front end damage, and he just wanting a fresh set of tires for this battle. If they can get out of the pits in time,
maybe they're just trying to undercut a little bit and hope that it sticks later on.
That's what I'm thinking. But again, they don't know Arctic's got fresh mediums and 2/3.
That's true too. Yeah.
So we'll have to see. Yeah, we'll see.
Forward with purple in fifth. Looks like Winter's probably going to be finishing that pit stop without a problem and not having to worry about purple whatsoever, it looks like.
That's exactly right. They came out on fresh softs, repaired the damage, and 91% fuel. So they are in it now. Arctic is on the harder tires and less fuel, so we'll have to see how this ends up playing out, but it may very well come down to pit stops at this point.
I think that's exactly what's going to come down to. I mean, obviously Arctic had a moment, which is what let Winter get caught up in the first place here, but you know, so if he has another one of those, Winter may very well be back up and fighting with him for P3 with softer tires and more fuel. So we'll see what happens. I'm interested to see where Gilly is at the moment. Gilly down 6th, 11,
Gilly
12
running their
seconds
own
off.
race.
Yeah, just another one right now where, you know, there's really no time to be made up at the moment, and, you know, he's got 27 seconds with Marino in 7th. Marino, another one in no man's land at the moment, basically the same position that Gilly is in. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that's exactly right.
Goes, you know.
It's really interesting to see though, because the most action these anyone in the midfield, anyone outside of P1 through 3 really is having is getting passed by people or passing the back markers. As I did just see Tony Cal go into the pits. Tony's got damage on the front and rear. Again, we missed what may have happened to them, but it sounds like a severe moment, and they're also quite low on fuel, so maybe they were driving around for that with that for a while. But we'll see what tire they come out on.
The Dubs is entering the pits, which means our buddy Specs is going to be getting track position from Delps. And while his mediums aren't terribly worn, the Jag, I don't know how good on fuel that thing is or not.
Nor do I, but we see Delps coming around the last turn onto the main straight here. Tony Cal still on the pitch, probably cursing the slower refuel rate that we voted for as drivers. And that's going to give Specs just P8 without a problem, really. Tony, just seeing Specs now in front of him as Tony's exiting the pit lane. May have a run on him. Tony finally on those softs, as we said earlier. You know, he's been running mediums this entire race, but he's got a fresh car, no damage, fresh tank of gas, and fresh tires.
Time for Tony to put the hammer down. He's got, you know, listen, he can definitely finish P9. We know that for sure. If Marino were to have any sort of moments, that would also open up the door for P7. But who knows? P9 may be where Tony ends up for this race. Which, honestly, with how it's been going, I would take that for sure. As we see, I guess it was probably the last lap. Philo put in 2:07, just taking that fastest lap and making it even faster, trying to make sure that nobody's able to take that point away from him.
Yeah. Philo just really they're out in front having their own race, almost a minute ahead of P2. A minute ahead of P2 almost. We've got a few laps left in this race. I mean, it's very evident, unless something catastrophic happens, who's taking home P1. Now for Mooseman and Arctic, again, P2 looks like it's made up unless Mooseman has a massive upset, and even Winter has given the gap to Arctic is 27 seconds. So, hey, Labu joined the chat. Labu, sorry to hear that your race, man, you're doing really, really well for the most part.
Yeah, Labu, I was excited to see how your race shaped up, but you're having some weird issues lately, man. I'm sorry to hear that. It's not how you want to go out.
That's right. So Tony Cal start doing the very last stint on the softs. 3 seconds to Specs in front of him. Not. I don't think he's going to be able to make up 3 seconds. Over the next 5 laps, but we will have to see. And realistically, Tony Cal's got less than 5 laps because Philo is here tidying up his laps. So maybe four laps and change now for Tony Cal to make up that space. That's a lot of time to gain on Specs.
Yeah, he is on the softer tire though, and a bit fresher of a tire at that. So we'll have to see what happens. That gap is now down to 2.5 seconds. It looks like Specs may have had some issues earlier in the race, you know, kind of just getting his Specs, how are you typing? But I see you driving right now. Is he using voice to chat? Specs, are you using voice to chat to talk midstream, mid-race? No wonder you're not in first.
Specs is also pit more than anyone else this race. You got to get your pit wall strategy down, my guy. Put down the microphone. Put your head down.
Talk about not being able to make up time. Specs is getting distracted by this, and Tony Cow is just closing that gap now. For 1 second, less than a second, Tony Cow is going to be all over the rear end of Specs here as we're entering the downhill section once more. Now Tony looked a little sloppy here earlier to see if he's able to make up any time, and he is closing the gap even further to Specs.
Yeah, what is going on with Specs here? That is just, I mean, that's wild. Unless Specs is having some sort of issue in real life. Really surprised to see that coming from the Irishman. But
Specs goes wide though, and look at, now granted that Jag is going to have the legs over Tony, I think for sure, but I don't think it's going to be too big of a little bit of contact there. It looks like possibly some lag.
Maybe
I'm not
some
sure.
lag. I'm not sure either. It looks like Crispy does have rear end damage. Specs not showing any damage, so maybe it was just lag. I'm really not sure. But Tony Cal rampant to get in front of Specs as he's now cutting the gap down to 2/10. I mean,
Tony
wild.
was able to break so much later than Specs there. I'm not sure if there's a bit of contact or not, but they are getting blue flag for someone behind them as well. I think it's Philo, but Philo is a little bit of a ways
right
back.
behind them.
So, I mean, hopefully that giving trading position doesn't impact their race at all, as we're seeing Tony really just on the rear end of Specs here. Philo's crazy quick. He likes racing himself, says Labo. Yeah, I agree. Dude, Labo, you got Cal at the beginning. You were having a really good race, bud.
That's right, dude. See, someone else was happy about getting Tony Cal. Demon earlier said, "Oh, I could have been faster than Tony today." And Wallet, I almost say the same thing. Tony Cal's really only now getting. Specs goes really wide there, giving the spot to Tony, and Philo's gonna pass him as well. Specs just went into the wall there.
That's unfortunate for Specs to be getting passed by Philo at that time, because if he's, Philo's not going to be obligated to be given that position up. And now, I mean, Philo will not be slow, terribly slow in this track part of the track, I assume. But if he were to be slowing down for some sort of reason, then Specs is going to be stuck behind him.
Yeah, that's exactly right. As I'm seeing Crispy come to the pits now, I guess just for a little bit of fuel to top off. Very surprised to see as you're watching that battle ensue. But not much of a battle anymore since Specs really just straight up had a bad time. Crispy coming out of the pits as Moose turns the first corner, and obviously just gave that spot right back to Moose. So how's Tony Cow looking over there?
Tony's doing pretty good. He's got 2 second gap between him and Specs at the moment, and it's coming down a little bit as Specs is on the straight now. But I don't think it's anything he's going to have to worry about. Philo looks like he's going to be going around Tony at the moment. Philo notably going off the racing line to get around Tony. But, Tony not having the straight line speed in the NSX, I suppose, he didn't necessarily feel the need to get off the racing line, considering he is battling and he needs as much straight line speed compared to Specs, who's now got that gap down to just under 2 seconds. So, yeah, Phil really schmoovin'. Been the same. Yeah,
that's exactly right. Yeah, I'm really curious to see, because I don't think that's just a pure tire compound difference, as we see Philo and Tony Cal going wide there. But keeping it all tidy. I think Specs had a tire in the grass as well. We'll have to hear from Specs later on. Yeah.
I'm not sure too much about the what sort of tune that Tony's got, Lava, but you're right. I think maybe, I wonder if there's anything more that he could have done for the straight line speed without sacrificing any sort of that agility in the S's and in the tighter mountain section, which is unfortunate. But we were saying earlier before you tuned in that not every car is going to be great on every single track, and while Tony's done great with the NSX so far, it clearly doesn't have the straight line speed compared to some of the other cars. So I think its strengths do lie more in some of the more technical sections, and there's only so much you can do with the tuning to you can't just make straight line speed come out of nowhere, as Tony has a bit of the moment going into the opening part of the downhill section. Unfortunately for him, it doesn't look like it's going to be causing any upsets, because Specs may have also had a moment, and that caps at 4 seconds now. He's matching Phil on the mountain exactly. Yeah, Specs also looks like he's having a moment here and there, so.
Yeah, and it's really interesting, though. I mean, again, we saw Specs keeping up with Arctic for lap after lap after lap earlier. Like, he got lapped by Arctic, and then we're just keeping up with him. So to see him give up that position so easy to Tony Cal makes me think something else is going on. Again, it seems like it's too much for just a tire compound difference.
Man,
Maybe Tony Cal finally woke up. I don't know.
It's possible. I would love for us to get a counter on how many times people have hit the walls around this race.
Oh, they probably have to redo all the walls every race.
Yeah, I think every time I cut to like Delps, I see him like grinding against the wall. What is Delps doing, bud? What are you racing over yet?
Well, I'll tell you, I saw Crispy straight up just park it on the side of the road for like 10 seconds before, and I have no idea why.
Yeah, Crispy, I mean, maybe he just, you know, at some point I suppose you do just, you know, say to yourself, all right, this is where I live now.
Yeah, you know, it's really unfortunate. You don't like to see that. Arctic was fuel saving, says Specs, so that's why he was able to keep up. I mean, that also, you know, ties into what we thought Arctic's strategy was, which, you know, maybe makes sense, but, buddy, don't count yourself out. You're a fast driver, I promise.
We are on the final lap here with Philo, so it's wild to be going for the lap counter for the back markers, and you know you kind of forget about where these front runners are, and just to see how far ahead that they really are. Philo has dominated this race, and
absolutely.
Whoever. It's good to see some more competition for sure. But I mean, to be leading by a minute and change, that is just rapid. And you know, talk about consistent times. I mean, we have at lap 33 they had a 203.9, may have been held up by the back marker or something like that. But other than that, it looks like 201s, a 2:07, 201s, you know, 202. I mean, obviously the consistency is there, and that's the reason that they are leading this race, and they're going to be coming home with not just the podium finish, but a first place finish for their first race with us here. And I know some of the guys had raced with them in the previous league and said that they were quick, but I did not expect them to be taking home this win. I don't want to say as easily as they did, but with such apparent ease as they did.
Yeah, no, I have to agree. Labu saying Philo hit the wall. Yeah, I saw him have a few penalty times as well, but this is the second racer that someone has invited to the league, or joined the league, I should say. I think Arctic came from Reddit, if I remember correctly, but just came in and swept the place. Now, I don't think it'll be a weekly event. Spec saying, fuck, that's over. Yeah, it was a race. It was a race, dude, but I believe some people had a harder race than you. We'll have to talk to you, Specs, about your typing on the streets. Well, you're such a mad lad, my dude.
Man, Specs, that's talent right there, bud. I can't even talk and drive at the same time. I can't even talk.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's for sure. Texting while driving is against the law here. Maybe not in Ireland. I don't know.
Jared saying earlier, it's always good to bring in talent to shake things up. I completely agree, man. I think it's always good to see new drivers and people that, you know, you can also like look to get faster towards. What am I trying to say? Like, improve your own craft and your own racing, so that because you want to be able to compete with the new drivers or people that are faster than you.
I wholeheartedly agree. Now, something I'm watching just as you know, everyone's finishing up their laps or their races. All three front runners have almost no fuel left. They calculated this stuff out, which, I mean, maybe Philo didn't because they only joined, I think, yesterday or earlier today. Yeah, it was yesterday, I believe. But that's a stark difference. Maybe just continuing. I don't know, just really well timed and planned out.
Yeah, it could be just that it worked out. You know, I guess throughout the race he probably had some time to just think about it and say, okay, well, how long is my fuel lasting, etc. Specs and Philo is Super GT's alt account. But congrats to our winner on screen, Philo, having a fantastic race. And yeah, 1 minute gap was pretty wild for them to be building. Yeah, that was pretty wild. And we can jump on board and see these results here. With Philo, he got fastest lap in qualifying, fastest lap in the race, and is taking home P1. So clean sweep on the race today. And, you know, kudos to them for jumping in and just being able to walk away with it. Moose, strong P2, a minute down. I still can't believe that. That's a wild gap.
Absolutely is.
You know?
Yeah, that was absolutely wild to see.
But, I mean, if you look at the fastest laps between the rest of the guys, a 202.8 from Moose, 202.8 from Arctic. So those two were really close as far as the one lap pace goes. Spec saying I was 4 minutes and 20 seconds behind. Yeah, I think at some point the game just stops counting. So I don't think you were far off from that. Definitely probably some notes for these guys to be taken away from. But, you know, I am really glad to see that. You know, obviously we didn't get to see every single angle of every lap, but we didn't have any terrible carnage going into the first lap or so. You know, first turn and everything else.
Yeah, that was really refreshing. I think maybe the drivers, that we held previously, was impacting that, which I think was really, really good to see. So I think, you know, our drivers, some had better races than others for sure. Specs, thank you, appreciate you. Delp's not happy with his car, but just wild to see the different strategies. Obviously, we saw a lot of people in the walls today, and I think there were some extra pit stops because of that. But we'll see how the next race plays out.
Yeah, I think maybe this is also a track where maybe the strengths of the cars and the you know, where they don't shine so much as well can really come into play.
Yeah,
and,
I have to agree.
You know, it's a tough track, so I'm glad that we got to race at it, and I hope everybody had fun at the very least. It was a very we had that sick hype video for it, which I loved. That got me really excited, and again, just goes to show how tough of a track some of these guys are racing at. So thank you everyone for joining and racing, even if you didn't have a great time in the race. Specs, I know, was complaining about it. Delp hating his car. You know, it's appreciated to have everybody here racing, and you know, hopefully different cars will be up for grabs next season. So, you know, we're getting through it, but we will be back next Sunday for our MX5 series, where we'll be racing at
Laguna Seca,
and I am super excited for that. Vinrick saying this was indeed one of the races of all time. Absolutely, yeah, it was a good one to watch. And Laguna Seca should be a great track for the MX5s. I know that we've been doing. You and I have been putting some time in, and Pat has been putting some time in and improving at that. So I think that would be a great race to see. Again, you know, we tend to have some closer racing for the most part in the MX5 cars, and those are slightly longer than a minute and a half laps that we're seeing so far. So maybe a bit closer racing, no minute 6 second gaps. Tired of the world down under, says Tony. Pato says sometime I actually had to legally change my dress to Lagunas.
Yeah, I think Pato's the kind of guy to put in 50 to 100 laps and then say, okay, that was a good good practice session.
Absolutely. But thank you again to everyone for joining. It's been a blast. We're going to go and finish up our days. But everyone, we'll see you next week for MX5 Cup race at Laguna Seca. Take care.
Have a good one.